I mean, coaching staff for sure has had a lot more say this split than I would say in previous splits.
How do you feel about that sentiment on whether or not like you guys just aren't complementary players?
But I do think like we can definitely complement each other.
So I'm joined by Blaber after an unfortunate defeat by Team Liquid. Blaber, you guys have lost 4 games in a row now. It seems like you guys are really messing up the early game a lot, either dying 2v2 or trying to dive, and then that kind of blows the game open. Or I guess in this game, like you guys were kind of being pulled around the map and you ended up having a deficit in the early game. Specifically, that TL game, what do you feel like went wrong in that game?
Um, I think regarding the TL game, I think I personally had a really bad path in today's game where I lost my top camps and I ended up losing groves because of it. I didn't actually end up losing like that much in total camps because I was able to secure like his chickens, but losing the grub sucked. And then I think we had probably had a timer do dragon if we, you know, planned it better in the early game, but we weren't able to secure it. And after after that happened, like the game was actually still fine. My bot lane was going to start winning, and when I was six, I thought we could win bot chat 3v3 since they didn't have cleanse, but they had some really good swaps on us that game, and it forced us to match them because they had Grubs plus Aphelios and we had Lucian, and they had a tank, so it was easier for them to defend 2v1, and we kind of just kept matching them off tempo, and we were losing waves and also just priority. And then we just ended up losing objectives, and at some point we were just behind, and the early game kind of just didn't go well for us because we just were just following them around. Yeah.
All right, and going into the mid game, initially the first 3 games, it seemed like you guys were really decisive. You took a lead and you would kind of push that through. Now it almost feels like you guys are lost in the mid game, like mid to late game. Who's in general like the in-game leader for that kind of stuff? And like, do you feel like maybe the deficits are the reason you guys are not doing too hot mid to late game, or do you feel that maybe you guys just don't understand the meta properly?
I think like our read on the meta isn't great, for sure, and also, um, we've been making a lot of like crucial mid game mistakes, I would say, for us. And today specifically, I wasn't really sure, um, how exactly we could push our champions forward because it felt like we didn't really win side and we didn't really like we weren't able to really pressure them on mid, and then once it came 5v5 we were kind of just getting outranged. I think like the Herald fight we could have won, but we misplayed, and then once we lost the Herald fight the game just felt really hard to play. But even like the Immortals game, I felt like our mid game was like really sloppy, um, where we were weak siding our Tristana a lot, strong siding Udyr, like stuff like that is just like doesn't really make sense. So it's just stuff that we have to work on. I would say our other 2 losses were just, I mean, the Maokai loss, just a bot dive, I think just was tragic, and then the other one just, I think Ballin was just, they just died like early, which is just, yeah, it just happens sometimes.
All right. Does this have anything to do with playing on live patch? It feels like teams might not really understand what's going on. They might not. It's like more difficult. You're under more of a time constraint to really practice these comps and really understand how to play them. So do you feel like the fact that you guys are sort of rushed into like this live patch cycle, that it affects your understanding and ability to practice these comps?
Um, I think like having less practice is like for sure a an excuse you can kind of make in the first week, but this is our second week on the patch, so it's not like we had just played this patch this week, and we already knew about the changes like 2 weeks ago, right? So I would definitely say we had a lot of practice playing the champs that we played. Maybe not the exact comp that we played today, but like we definitely had practice on the champs. And I think like having a bad read after having 2 weeks of practice is our own fault. If we think it's a bad read, right? So I wouldn't say like playing the live patch has really changed anything.
Okay. And talking specifically about C9, there's been a lot of discussion about C9 because you guys are a super team and obviously you're not where everyone expected. And one thing that has been quite popular the past few days is that you guys as a team, like the team formation didn't make sense. The players don't complement each other. So you have Jojo, who the way he plays the game, the way he like wins and breaks the game, is his laning phase, right? You have yourself, and you're more of a let me get my power spikes, let me farm, as opposed to, for example, Marong, who's someone who like doesn't care about his farm and ganks all the time. In the bot lane, you have Berserker, who probably works best with engaged champions, but then or with ranged champions. But you have Vulcan, who clearly plays better on engaged champions. So it almost seems like you guys are all very, very great players, but you don't complement each other. How do you feel about that sentiment on whether or not like you guys just aren't complementary players?
I mean, definitely like we aren't playing to our best strengths, I guess. Like for sure, like Vulcan is better at engaged supports. I do think he's good at range supports, and I'm I guess I'm having more success right now with the skirmishing type junglers like Xin Zhao and Nocturne type champs. To be honest, like I've had a pretty good time working with Jojo. It's been really easy, and um, I think that we can like play the styles that complement each other. We haven't really the last couple weeks like played any mid 2v2s that have been like super strong or like playing together, if that makes sense. Like we play like Maokai Vayne or like today we played Lilia Oriana. It's like we haven't really had opportunities in these drafts specifically to kind of play together, but I do think like we can definitely complement each other. Even if like necessarily like it hasn't been like that in the past, right? Like where we've both been resource heavy. He's really willing to play like the Nico type champs to sacrifice, and I'm very willing to play like Sejuani and stuff for him. And we kind of just got to figure out what's working for us, like regardless of like if it's good or not or what like people might think we want. It's like we just kind of just want to play what's best to win. We don't really care like I'm sure my teammates don't care like who's getting the resources that much if like it means that we're gonna win.
All right, and as a team, how do you guys come up to that decision? Is it like you guys just try everything and whatever sticks sticks, or is there like the coaching staff saying, "Hey, we think this is strong in the meta, so we're going to play this way instead of that way"? How do you guys as a team go about that?
I mean, coaching staff for sure has like has a lot had a lot more say this split than I would say in previous splits. It's something that we've been experimenting with like having a more involvement of like coaching staff, but also it's up to the players, right? In the end, it's like if Berserker's like I refuse to play X champion, or I say like I refuse, like we're not gonna play that champion, right? Or it's and if like a player is like heavily pushing for a specific champion, then like coaching staff will take that into consideration, right? And then we're gonna most likely play that champion, right? Um, but I would. Wait, sorry, what was the original question again?
So how do you guys come up to the conclusion of like, oh, we should play through Blaber, we should play through
Oh,
Berserker? Like, yeah.
yeah. It kind of just depends on what we think is strong. So, for example, if I think carry junglers are super strong right now, then it requires my teammates to play more supportive champs because like they are not really strong arming that they think that their role, like the carry champs in their role, is super OP, right? So like if Berserker is very strong about, let's say Lucian being OP, right? Because we played that the last two games, then it's important for me or like someone to play something more frontline, right? Because our support's gonna be Emilio. So it's kind of just like whoever thinks is really strong, you kind of just try to build a comp around trying to help them carry what they think is strong. And it's always nice if like I just come up and I say, oh, I think Sejuani is really OP, and then everyone's like, great, we can just play whatever we want now. Yeah.
All right. You guys are currently with a negative record halfway through the split. Should fans be worried?
Um, I mean, I don't think fans should be worried because I think that we can pull back. I think that our problems are very easily fixable, and I think like me personally, I'm not worried, and I feel like our team isn't that worried. I will say today we were probably a little bit more upset than like we were at the last couple losses, but I do think team environment's been pretty good overall, and we still like really believe in each other. So we're just gonna keep, pushing forward, and hopefully next week is better.
All right. And is there anything you want to say to the fans?
Yeah, just thanks everyone for supporting us even after we lost, and yeah, we'll do better.
All right. Thank you so much, Blaber.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching that interview. You'll notice this week I didn't use the word like 5,000 times a sentence, which I'm happy about. The interviews I did were pretty good. I'm happy with the answers that I got. If you haven't subscribed yet, why not? What are you waiting for? Just do it. Just subscribe.